before I ask you, we'll actually get to look at the effects it has on the personal teenagers. You know, the relationship with siblings. We notice that when parents often actually favor one particular child than the other, we notice that there's a sibling rivalry, you know, amongst both of them as the times go on. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts. Why do you think oftentimes most parents get to favor one child out of the other?
Well, in most cases, the other child that is being favored maybe is doing better or meeting the parents' expectations than the other children or than the other child. The parents are liking the activities and the behaviors of that child that is being favored, and they choose to show the child more favor, more preferential treatment than the other children, making the other children feel less loved and overlooked. That's what causes that sort of situation.
So, in that instance, this particular, let's say there are 5 children in the home, or let's say 5 is too much, let's say 3 of them in a family, and it's a 5 family, 3 kids and 2 the parents. And then, like you stated, this child is actually doing better off than the others. That's why oftentimes it's considered that way. But these children were actually from the genes of these parents. You birth them. You to an extent, you know what this child is capable of, and you know the strength and the weakness of this particular child. You know, don't you think that will kill the self-esteem of the one that is barely trying to do better than the rest of them?
In a lot of cases, it does. It ruins the child's self-confidence and the child's self-esteem, and it causes that child to feel unloved, unheard, unnoticed. It causes that child to be drained emotionally and mentally. So it really does affect the children.
In a home where the male child gets more love than the females, does it affect siblings' relationship? If we often notice almost times, especially in an African home, where yes, they say the man takes after the father when the father is no longer there. You know, it's sometimes a cause for concern, because oftentimes we've had interaction with few people. You hear someone say after the death of a particular parent in the home, they say every of the wealth is willed to the male child. You know, and this starts from the upbringing. It goes on and on from there, and then sometimes since some parents will say education is for the boys and not the girls. You know, do you think if the female notices that this particular affection is centered just on my brother, do you think that affects the sibling relationships?
Yes, it really puts a strain on the relationship that the both of them have, or that the female and the male children have. It makes the female children actually feel less important, and it causes their relationship to be thinned. There is no longer a very close bond between them. They know where they stand. They know that if there's a situation where something happens, they won't side with us, they'll side with him. So this relationship is going to be really strained.
And do you think it's a continuous process? It's that something that gets into adulthood?
Yes. When you groom a child in a particular way, the child grows with that he's being trained with, and then he grows, and he also teaches his own children with that particular pattern. So yes, they grow with that. They grow with being preferred to the females. They grow with knowing that they are men and they can do what they like. Yes, they actually grow
when we
with it.
look at the self-esteem aspect, how it affects the self-esteem of the particular teenager that is more not preferred or not loved, that feels less loved than the rest, how do you think that affects the lifestyle of the teenager when he or she turns to be a man or an adult in the future?
Okay, so in most cases of children who weren't given that preferential treatment, or they were in a home where their siblings were giving more attention that they were giving, they tend to grow up wanting to make their opinions heard by force. They tend to grow up wanting to impose what they want. Most people grow up very determined to show their parents that they are better than their siblings. They grow up with a lot of
because they did
strife.
not get the opportunity to actually show up, get to show who they actually are.
They grow up with a lot of strife, a lot of anger, resentment. Their whole objective for growing just to show that they are way better than their siblings.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you think this can be corrected, especially like I stated, in an African home where this could be a factor in a home where there could be, so sometimes there could be a situation where the mother will like this particular set of siblings, this particular set of kids, and the father will like this particular set. So it's more like there's this, you know, two rivalry going on in the house. And let's say the mom wants to discipline that father's favorites, and the father will scold, you know, don't touch my child, don't touch him, don't touch her, that kind of thing. I think you actually you get to share your personal experience here. But in that kind of instance, do you think that there's a situation that it affects the home as time goes on between the parents actually?
Well, mostly yes, because let's say the father's favorite, if something occurs, they can't really lean or confide in their mother, because they have a particular mindset towards each parent, which may not, in most situations, not be right or not be healthy. It tends to cause a lot of rivalry, and so to correct it, the parents need to sit down and probably talk to resolve it, to be able to give each child equal treatment. Nobody is better than the other. To give equal encouragement and advice to each of the children, to make sure that everybody feels loved and cared for.
Okay. If I told you I was going to ask you a personal question, have you actually been in that situation where you feel like you're more loved or you're less loved in the home?
Yes.
Okay, well, which one was it? Was it that you were more loved or you were less loved?
This morning, my younger sister, she had poured something and she did not want to clean it up. And I was asking her, come and pack it up. And then my mom just came out, don't touch my child, leave her alone. We should not do this later on. And she had just left it like that, lying. And then
she could be actually be the last child.
Yeah,
so sometimes it could be, it can be the other way around, that there's this special love for the last children in the home. You know, so that kind of situation, like growing up, I know I've actually had an experience that I'm the first child. You know, oftentimes when I'm doing the house chores and I'm like, my sister come and join me, I'll tell her to join. My dad will be like, leave her, do your own and let her do hers later. You know, oftentimes I'll be like, oh no, let me just do it, because I cannot wait her to do it when she's ready at her time. I always want to do it. I always want everything to be done at that time, and you know, it just somehow, and it might not be like like we stated, sometimes it could be unintentional to the parents. They will not know that indirectly there's this kind of love they have shown to a particular child, you know, and it grows. Like you said, resentment can actually come up, you know, and then there could be the tiny sibling rivalry that goes on with it. Even in the academic sector, you notice that, yes, the academic aspects, you notice that this particular child, the parents notice that, oh, this one is really doing well, this one is very smart. They pay more attention. When it's school fees time, they pay this particular one school fees first before every other aspect, you know, every other child. It's just, you know, a backlash and all of that's going on in the home. But if we have to send out a message out to the parents out there, what do you think you can say from your point of view as a teenager, how, you know, they can rightly handle this parent favoritism amongst their children?
I will simply say every child is unique and every child is special. Every child has their strengths and their weaknesses, just like how every parent have their strengths and their weaknesses. You do not compare children. Like, oh, see what your sibling is doing. Why can't you be as good as her? Why can't you get straight A's like her? You have to know that every child has your strength, and you as a parent, you have a responsibility to find that strength and to groom that particular strength. You're not meant to compare the 2 or the 5 children. You're not meant to compare them with anybody at all. You're meant to give them a space. You're meant to encourage them and help in the little way you can. Be able to groom that child in the best of their ability.
Thank you so much in that, Andre. Well, moving forward, this is on sexual grooming. It's when a sexual predator builds a relationship with a child or adult to abuse and exploit them. They build trust, but use it to control, isolate, and abuse their victims emotionally, physically and sexually. A groomer oftentimes come across as charming, helpful, and kind at first. It can be easy to trust them and lower your guard, but they often use threats, violence, or other coercion to force you into sexual activity you don't want. They target underage children or vulnerable teenagers or adults. The impact it has on victims. Grooming has devastating impacts on victims by damaging their sense of self, eroding their ability to trust others, and severely impacting mental health. Children who are groomed may feel they are to blame for their abuse and have difficulty placing blame on the perpetrator. Survivors may perceive aspects of human connection as threat cues, and thus may find it difficult to fully engage mentally with simple positive interactions such as affirmative or compliments. Let me ask you firstly, have you or someone you know experienced sexual grooming?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all ears. I would love
So
to know.
it was a situation with an older person that I will not name or that kind of stuff, but
Okay.
he would always say, "Won't you come and greet me? Won't you come and hug me?" Forcing that ideology of an elder. There's a certain respect to give to an elder.
Yes.
And he would do it to my friends and I, and he'd ask, "Oh, come and hug me." And at that point, he would always make it look like we were very disrespectful to him. He would go to other of his peers and be like, "They're very disrespectful," trying to coerce us into.
At that time, why did you think that this person was actually going to be a sexual groomer at the time? Was there any kind of an indirect attraction or indirect statement that was made from that person?
I don't really think so, but
Okay.
the actions
Okay.
and the statements he had
Okay.
made me personally feel very uncomfortable. So once he said that, I'll just completely tell him bluntly no, and I'll move away. So I'll tell him, and I'll warn my friends about it. So by that action, we had completely moved ourselves from that situation,
Okay.
and he had moved on to his next group of victims.
So, okay, so he moves it on to the next group of victims. So this was more like a planned stuff that he actually had. This is just a personality trait that this particular person had.
I really don't know, but I didn't like the action he had. Yes.
Yes, he displayed. Well, the other person, you said yes. Does it mean that you were the one that was about to be groomed, or you know somebody else that was groomed, or sexually groomed, or almost sexually groomed? Because let's give a background study here about a situation. Let's give a situation that a young girl, in her 16 years old, a teenager, meets this uncle that is probably in his late 30s or probably in his early 40s, and he's someone, probably a neighbor that lives down the street and sees this teenager going to school every day, and he comes with, "Oh, I admire you, you're very hardworking. I see how you go to school early. I see how you take care of your siblings, sell in your mom's store." Let's say the mom has a store that she goes to sell after school, like help the mom to make sales after school. "I see how hardworking you are. I just want to appreciate your efforts," and gives the 16-year-old a certain amount of money for indirectly appreciating this teenager for working hard. And it continues, and once in a while he drives past, "Hello, how are you? Uncle, good evening," and it just continues like that. On her birthday, she might just somehow, the parents might just say, let's say he stops by to buy something, and the parent says, "Oh, my daughter's birthday is actually next tomorrow," and he takes it upon himself to buy her a gift. And it continues, "I'm writing WAEC. Oh, let me pay for her WAEC form. She's about to write JAM. Don't worry, I'll pay for it." It starts like that. That's just how it starts, gradually. Oftentimes you may feel, "Oh, this person maybe just like me. Because he's older than me, he will not have any intent of wanting to come sexually towards me." But oftentimes that's how it starts. Let's not get it wrong that God can just decide to send somebody to be of help. But the particular aspect we're looking at is when they come with intent of coming in this aspect, like, let me gain this ground first. Let me, get to buy her.
Get her trust.
To get her trust. Do you get? Let me get her trust first and let her know that this is not, I don't want to start that violently and tell her straightforward that, oh, this is what I want to do with you. That's how it starts, you know. And oftentimes it could get to a point where let's give an instance that it gets to a point he could say come and help me clean. Call, I cooked, I brought food. It just continues like that. And to an extent, you notice that this teenager might at some point have a little atom of likeness, because this uncle gifts me things unconsciously all the time. Even when I don't ask, he comes to the store, okay, give her this one, you take this one. Oftentimes you might get to share money to everybody. And then women, you know, girls, young girls too, there's this thing of, this uncle likes to give, this uncle likes me, this uncle likes to take care of me. And in most cases they are not bloodly related. You notice that because sometimes it could come from a blood relative. There have been cases of rape where a particular teenager has been raped by a close relative, an uncle or cousin, or a third cousin. You know, it just comes like that. But let's say this person is not bloodly related to this teenager, and to an extent it's easy to penetrate, like you said, gain the trust of that teenager, and it just continues like that. And it could get to a point that this particular teenager was unaware, developed that love, unknowing love towards this person, and that's how it continues. And you find out that that teenager confides in this person. When the mom does something wrong, she confides in this person. When her phone gets taken away, let's say she doesn't have a phone and he buys her a phone, or she doesn't have certain amount of money, she confides in him, and that's how it grows. And most of the ladies right now have been victims of that, and they just didn't know that they were. But so it's okay if we get to come to that extent where we get to enlighten them and tell them, oh, this is what is going on. If you find yourself in this situation and it's not, you know, given that this person is genuinely helpful, then you have to drift apart, you know. And so that's just like a background check about situations like that. Well, let me get to ask you, what action can, you know, that particular teenager take to prevent herself from being groomed? Let's say it gets to that point where that kind of situation has happened.
Can I give a story? So like,
yeah, sure,
okay.
You can.
So it happened of recent where a friend of mine had been in that kind of situation. The person, so to say, was close to her family, was close to her older brother, and he had been given advantage. Oh, come and help me clean, help me cook, that sort of thing. So it had got to a point where she had refused to go over to his house, and when something happens, he would try to pin it on her or force it on her. He had started draining her mentally and emotionally, and had just...
How did he pin it? How did he pin things on her?
We were writing a particular exam.
Okay.
And in the exam hall, he was actually an invigilator. And so when we got there, he would seize her pen, he would seize her calculator, he would ask her to stand up, he would ask her, he would just prevent her from
just
eating.
Because she refused
those come over, that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, at the end of that exam, she was really, really drained. She was always crying. She was always feeling bad. And I just told her, just go and report, tell your parents, let us see their reaction first. Don't just assume that they will always support him because of what he's doing. Just go and report first. And after she had reported, it's so that like her parents did not know anything about it, and they took serious action against the particular person.
Okay.
So first of all, you have to go and report it. If you don't have parents, maybe report it to the police at least. Go to someone that you know that can take serious action against this particular matter. And then distance yourself completely from that person. Tell the person, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and completely distance yourself away from that particular situation. So as not to force yourself into it unknowingly.
Okay, thank you so much, Andre, on that. That was actually an intelligent one. Let's look at the third question from the angle of peer pressure. How do you navigate saving your friendship or integrity from being groomed? Let's give this to a scenario. You talked about this friend, and let's say to an extent that this friend accepted this affection, this person to sexually groom her. To an extent, she accepted it and gave into it. And let's say this person provides some financial help, and she's enjoying it. and you have integrity and you do not like it, you do not like that kind of lifestyle, and this person is a close friend of yours, and she tells you, see, Andre, this person takes care of me. I don't take money from my parents. I don't ask my parents for money. Anything I want, he provides for me. He pays my for now. He pays my school fees. So an extent, there are some parents that will just be reluctant not to pay school fees. I'm just giving an instance. Or he buys me this. On my birthday, he gifted me this, and he has a friend that I would like you to meet that's also like him. And then let's say you have that integrity that you're like, no, I cannot do that because that was not how I was trained. My parents did not train me up to do this kind of thing. That is on one side. And then the other aspects where you give in to this. What are the implications? Let's look at the first implication of you're giving in to this peer pressure of wanting to save your friendship because you don't want to lose this friend. How do you think that can affect you as a person, by bowing into that peer pressure by allowing yourself to be sexually groomed?
Because it was not from my mind or my heart, and it was because just wanting to save the relationship. It will really damage mentally and emotionally.
Okay.
It will really prevent myself from having future friendships, supposing that friendship had ended in a particular way. It prevents me from having future friendships or to trust anybody at that.
Okay, let's say you actually get into that peer pressure and then enjoy it. What if you get into that peer pressure and you're enjoying the flow with this friend that's just because you want to save your friendship? Okay, are you coming from the angle that, let's say you give into that and then it did not turn out the way you want? Do you understand my question?
Yes.
Like, let's say now she tells you all of these things. Let's say he gets her the latest iPhone and tells you, see, this phone you're using is out of date. You need to update. You need to follow the trend. This person has actually done this and we have not done anything. Because oftentimes they come with something like that. So he has not touched me. It happens. This groomers, this sexual groomers, they don't forcefully they don't tell you, I like you. They're just coming with those gifts, like, just gradually. And you're like, she's like, follow me. You meet the friend's actually wear each other and him. And you will get times 2 of what I'm getting. And you notice that, oh, this friend is the only person I talk to in school. This is the only friend I have close to me that I can confide certain things with, because she actually decided to confide in you with that. And you give it out of your integrity, you give into that peer pressure. How do you think that affects you?
If the person enjoys it, let's say you actually really got out of it, you actually really enjoyed it, it's going to cause the person to keep on doing more.
Okay.
But later on in the long run, it causes some emotional and mental damage. Maybe possibly the person may grow up, let's say a female grow up, and the person may not even be able to get married or settle down or have stable relationships because of what the person had already gone through. And let's say it didn't turn out how he or she had planned for it to turn out. It causes a lot of anxiety, depression, causes the person to be so unsure of he or herself, and it makes the person just go through a lot of trauma. Yes.
Okay.